This slab has been in my shop now for a couple of years, waiting. I got it for free from the Catskill Mountain Maker Camp, which is a huge maker community event. And it was the same year I helped build a life-size dinosaur and burn it to the ground. That feels like the right origin story for a workbench.
I've known for a while what I wanted to do with it. A new workbench for the current shop. Something better than what I've had. But a workbench is one of those projects that's easy to put off, because whatever you have is good enough to keep working on the things that you actually want to build. But good enough isn't the same as right. The first thing I need to do is rip the slab in half. It has a pretty severe cup to it, and if I try to flatten it as one piece, I'm going to lose a lot of that thickness. Ripping it first gives me 2 flatter boards to work with and saves a lot of that maple. As I was cutting this, it got me thinking, why put it back together? The slab is on the narrow side for a workbench top, but 2 separate halves actually works in my favor. The gap between them means I can get a clamp in anywhere along the length of the bench. A split top wasn't the plan when I started, but sometimes the material makes the decision for you. This slab came from a maker camp, and if you've never been, it's a weekend in the mountains with a few hundred woodworkers, blacksmiths, fabricators, and artists. A few years ago, we built a 25-foot tall dinosaur with the help of Michael Alm and Wesley Treat. At the end of the weekend, we burned it to the ground. Someone had this slab and didn't need it. I didn't have a plan for it yet, but it was hard to turn down a free slab.
It sat in my shop for a couple of years, and I knew that I would find a use for it eventually, but I just didn't know that it would become the centerpiece and the most important tool of the shop.
Although I could have flattened the slabs myself, I wasn't comfortable doing it with the tools and resources I currently have. I could have made it work, but it would have been a bit cumbersome. So I took the slabs to my local lumberyard where they have a large CNC and wide belt sander, and they were able to flatten these very quickly. While they're working on that, I'll start working on the base, which is going to be built from these laminated 2x4s. Some of you might remember this as the bench from the tent shop. It's the very first bench I built for myself, and since then it's got a lot of use, getting covered in scratches, epoxy, glue, and every finish I've tried. It shows a bit of every project that was made on it. I thought for a while whether I should leave these as is, as reminders, but I decided to start fresh and plane these boards smooth. Not to erase those memories, but to focus on one specific one. The view of the bench that started it all. When I moved into this current shop, I took the top of this workbench with me. I wasn't sure what I'd use it for, but it felt wrong to leave it behind. Some part of me knew that we weren't done yet. I'll admit it did feel a little wrong to cut these down, but these will be the legs and stretchers for the new workbench, and the foundation for a new chapter. With all the parts cut to length, it's time for joinery. And there's a few options for this, but nothing feels more right than a mortise and tenon. It's strong and built to last longer than I will. Since there's so many of them, I'm cutting some templates on my laser to aid with layout and cutting. They get attached to the legs with double-sided tape, and I'll use the combination of a router with a pattern bit to remove all of the waste. Taking a few shallow passes and then removing the template to cut even deeper. The tenons are easier to cut and can be done on a table saw, but I'll still use the template to mark out all the lines. A properly cut mortise and tenon should go together with hand pressure. tight enough that it holds itself, but at the same time loose enough that you're not fighting it. When you get the right fit, you know it. These are too tight, and they put up a pretty good fight. Eventually they did go in, but I made sure to cut the rest of the tenons just a little bit smaller. At this point, the slab is still out being flattened, and although I took a lot of measurements before I dropped it off, I ended up making this base too long. I realized this only after I picked up the slab, so off camera I cut the long stretchers down by about 18 inches, recut the joinery, and reassembled the base.
I haven't looked at these yet, but I'm excited to unwrap them. There were a lot of checks and cracks, so I wonder how many of them actually got chased out or how many more have been introduced. So let's take a look. So there were a lot of cracks in this area, and a lot of them did get chased out, which is great, but there's still a lot to deal with. So let's take care of all that.
There are a few different ways to stabilize a slab, with the trendy option right now being to fill it with resin. And although I do think it has its place and works well for smaller cracks, I chose the option of bow ties. It's a much more traditional approach, and I think it looks a lot better. I'm going with 4 different sizes for the bow ties, and they're cut from offcuts of the old workbench top, which I think just adds to the story, that my very first bench is now holding up and holding together this new one. How the slab is right now is really long for the location where I want to put this bench. And I really didn't want to cut off these sections, but thankfully they are substantial enough that they can be used for something else in the future. Maybe some matching floating shelves in the shop. To attach the slab to the base, I used some lag bolts from underneath going through the stretchers. The final detail was to add a spacer and a vise, and I'll eventually add some cork to the inside of this vise to give it some extra hold.
I want to address this section here. There's quite a large defect that creates a dead zone, and that's not ideal for a workbench. I've been thinking about what to do in that area, and I think the best option would be to cut it out entirely and splice in a new piece of maple. While I'm at it, I can go ahead and add a tail vise, which would open up a lot of possibilities. There is a bit of function as it is right now, and it's a great place to store pencils and measuring tapes, things like that, while I'm working on a project without taking up valuable workbench space. So I'm gonna live with it for a while, and if it becomes an issue, I'll go ahead and add a tail vise. There's also a lot of space underneath the workbench, and that would be a great place to add drawers, shelves, cabinets, different types of storage like that. but there's already a lot of that in the shop, and if I added more underneath the bench, it would probably end up just being empty. So if you have any suggestions for what to do underneath there, please leave it in the comments and I would greatly appreciate it. There's a really nice story with how this workbench came together, and I'm really excited that it's part of the shop and will be part of the many projects to come. And I'm also looking forward to adding a lot of scratches and dents to it. That way, many years from now, it has its own story that it can tell. So I'm gonna start chipping away at that long list of projects, and I'll see you in the next one.